Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Doppler's Gear Garage. How the heck are you doing on this Saturday morning? Melissa Doppler, hello. Greetings to you, honey. Thanks for dropping in on two separate places. Griffin, great to see you. I was thinking about you this morning. Great to see you. Where's the slide? Just kidding. Griffin, always a pleasure, my man. Zach, hello from Venice, California. Oh, hang on a second, Griffin. Hang on. Found it. Okay. Stefano, what's going on, man? Jimmy Arsenault, hello. Hang on a second. The thing I love most about you, and I feel the love, look at this, and I love you too, you know that, is it's just so fiery it can only be openly raw, just dirty. I love that. Love you, dude. Okay, getting a little warmed up here this morning. Mark, what a pleasure. Great to see you. Good morning to you, my friend. Great to see all these lovely people. How is the Pacific Northwest, or where are you in the world? Scott Gaylor, good morning, my friend. Sounds better with the mic off. That's the Mark 7. This thing is sounding monstrous. And gosh darn it. Oh, get out of there. That Mark 7. I am running direct. Oh, wait. Yep, there we go. I'm running direct with this thing. And gosh darn it. It's got this great feature called Cab Clone IR that's basically built into the back of the amp. As much as I've got the cabinets behind me, I'm not using them right now. Gosh darn it. All right, hang on a second. So Scott, always a pleasure. Scott is a fellow boogie enthusiast. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining. Griffin, you should see my smile. I love that. Captain Scarlett, raining like crazy in Tacoma. It is sunny. There's a blues song in there, right? It's raining in Tacoma, right? Gosh, I love this guitar. Okay. Rafa, what's going on? Kind of wet, Stefano. Sorry to hear that. Jimmy, by the way, I have a friend who makes custom slides. Get me backstage. First of all, I love that. Second of all, I am... Got to give a little credit where credit is due. First of all, always appreciative and humbly so of any offers, especially from you. The Dunlop guys, I am a Dunlop endorser, and they have plied me in a collection of... Oh, wait, that one won't fit on that finger. There we go. They have plied me in a collection of slides like nobody could possibly imagine. And I don't know why I'm doing this, but I kind of... You know, that'd be kind of a groovy ad. I got to remember to send that to my... Hang on a second. I need to... Hang on a second. You know, I don't know about you guys. I'm not a big selfie guy. It's just kind of not my thing, because I think it's just kind of slightly, I don't know. But this, I got to send to my buddy Brian because he'll appreciate that. In any case, I am, you know, the interesting thing about Slide, I haven't been playing much over the past couple of days because I've been in the studio preparing. It's such a beautiful sound, and they're all so different. That one's a little bit brighter than this one. And then you got these guys over here. Get over there. How about playing a tune? And then you've got, I don't know, we got the porcelain guys. Usually I like to play slide with a little bit less, well, hang on, a little bit less gain. Let's do a little bit of this. Man, let's get to this guy. Pretty sound. They all just sound completely different, and they all have a very different touch. It's kind of a funny thing trying to decide which one I'm going to live with is kind of my main sauce. You know, the other thing is it's very interesting kind of which finger to slide on. Third finger is kind of what is my favorite is the funny thing is that I had them send a bunch of stuff over, and the one that I kind of thought was going to be my numero uno, which is this guy right here. I have a second one floating around. I kind of it's got, you know, they kind of had these old medicine bottle things, and the medicine bottle part of kind of where I finger with the slide till I figured this thing out better, the way I fret, the medicine bottle gets caught in the edge of the strings, and I'm kind of like, I love the thickness and the sound of this slide. You can really hear kind of all the things like, oh, that's really good. And I'm forcing myself to pinky the slide as opposed to the third finger, which is... By preference, the third finger is the place I want to go, but the pinky enables you, of course, go... But I get caught in the gutter of that thing, and I don't quite know what to do about that. Problems that we all have. Okay. So hang on, backing up. Somehow I scrolled down. So Rafa Bonilla, I finally got a post up honoring the great, the great invitation to play on your fabulous album, Alma Mater, which is not only out, is now out on vinyl. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are on Facebook or not on Facebook, head over to my Facebook feed, and there's a post with all the links to the streaming and where you can pick up the vinyl and all of that stuff. It's a great album, a ton of great players, and it was a privilege to be on there. So in any case, that is out on vinyl. If you're a vinyl fanatic, we got you covered. Okay. So Jimmy, thank you again for the kind offer. So Raphael, that is, I am doing great. I am heading into the studio. On Tuesday and Wednesday to add what's going to be 6 or 7 more songs to both the vocal and the instrumental album, which I'm in this moment kind of thinking about doing as a double album, because the short version is my buddy Caleb Johnson, the amazing vocalist who sings on the vocal side of things, said, you know, he kind of laid a foundation. It's like you could kind of do I'm going to say it, I'm going to spill the beans, I'm going to open a little bottle of water here. Which is kind of, if you will, build off of the Bonamassa template where, you know, there's a bunch of guitar playing and then there's vocals. And also the Kenny Wayne Shepherd vibe where you kind of do an instrumental set. Not that Kenny's known for instrumentals, but you kind of have the vocalist come on. So it would be an instrumental set and then a vocal set. So it makes sense to put the two together and put them out together. So I'm thinking of doing kind of a double thing, because it makes it in some ways easier to market, in some ways even more confusing to market, but it's kind of all what I do. So the idea is to create 2 full-length albums either way, especially as I go out and play the instrumental songs. People, when I just play those songs, there's a whole album worth of material that people are familiar with, so on and so forth. That's what I'm doing this week. So I've been kind of preparing the songs, and that song you heard right there at the top is a song called Slave to the Grind, which is one of the vocal ones that got recorded got demoed for the original batch of songs and didn't actually make it to the first kind of recording with John Cuniberti at 25th Street Recording, and it is going to be on this one. So I'm really excited about that one. Okay, heading down the list. Scott, thank you very much. This amp, holy cow! So that's the number 2 channel, and that is the Mark 7 mode. Yeah, the great thing about this amp is there's all that classic boogie stuff in there, but there's also just so many great tones on tap, very touch sensitive. And the thing that's blowing me away, because this is something I hadn't done yet, is this past week, because I'm working on all this pre-production for these songs. It's a little bit mind-numbing. Nothing like working with a deadline. But I'm going direct to kind of get used to the vibe of that. There's that little boogie back there. The little boogie back there. That is the California Tweed, which with the 2 Notes Cab Amp Plus, I've spent a lot of time with that, as well as a top secret amp that I can't talk about yet, kind of paired together, going direct in. So I'm very comfortable with that, but I was kind of like very curious to know what was going to happen when I started running that guy direct, because when you start bypassing the cabinets, the amp is going to sound and behave a little bit differently, but it sounds and behaves very closely to what it is when I'm playing through the actual rectifier standard cabinets, my kind of tall slant boogie cabinets, if you will, which are amazing because they sound great for dirty tones and clean tones and kind of that in between. They really kind of defy the laws of what, when we traditionally think of a 412 cabinet, kind of pointing straight forward, and sometimes just a little too rocket ship like. So that is Boogie's IR of that, is basically the cab clone IR. Those sounds to the guy that did a bunch of work with Third Eye Blind is from the Bay Area, and I'm going to forget his name, but he did those captures for them, the IR captures, and they sound great. So that is basically those cabinets. And you got to keep in mind that when you or I plug into an amp, we turn the knobs a little bit differently, and when you or I might place a microphone, we might place it in a different location. This guy did a great job of making them sound a lot like my cabinets the way I would mic them up, and I'm just really pretty blown away with that. So Scott, given who you are and what you do, much appreciated. Okay, Sean again, hello. It's, like I said, it's raining in Tacoma. Jim, well, I am unruly. Just send both of you a connection because he makes sparkly slides, and you know how I feel about sparkly things. Thank you for that, Jimmy. Much appreciated. All right, Zach, how is the guitar tone affected by the mic as the guitar cab is not used? Great question. Gosh darn it. Hello, Bobby. I'm gonna answer that, and I'm gonna pin it. So I remember to answer that. Can I pin you? Come on, Pinhead. I started. All right, that's a new. I used to be able to pin this. All right, well, I've started, so I'm going to come back to it. Bobby Valdez, great to see you, my man. Jimmy Chet, hello. Chris Alexander, my dear friend, always such a pleasure. The sun has gone into hiding in Seattle guitar weather. Why is that not surprising, Mark? All right, go try recording with Mesa Boogie 112 with Celestian Vintage 30s. All right, Tony Lucchese, what's going on, my man? Chile, Cincinnati. Michael, hello. I want to be buried in the Sun Coliseum lead cabinet. Very interesting. So the Coliseum lead, was that the tall 412? I used to have a Sun 412 cabinet back in the day that I played with a PV Mace, no less. All right, to demonstrate that I actually have not forgotten. So, Zach, what a great question. So, Mikey, number one, speaker, dust cap at the center of the speaker. Generally, that little edge of the dust cap, anywhere around there, but right on the edge with, for example, a Shure SM57, an inch or so away from the grill, is going to give you a sound very close to what's coming out of the cabinet, just as a starting place. And it's just kind of where, as you move towards the center of the speaker and further away, brighter, less bright. Edge of the dust cap is usually sonically very similar to what's actually coming out of the front of the speaker cabinet, if you dare put your face in front of it. So capturing that essence of the way the amp sounds is kind of this elusive, unicorn, mythical kind of holy cow. It's just kind of elusive, but that's a great way with a $100 microphone to get the job done. Combining that with what, who was that said, oh, that was Jimmy Jet. Hello again, Jimmy, awesome. So I have upstairs, because I passed it this morning and yesterday, as a 112 mini rectifier slant, and over there I have a 112 rectifier cabinet, both of which sound great. Tom Atkins, hello, my friend. Happy Saturday to you. Great to see you, my friend. Hang on. see that coming. All right, hey. So the thing about the 112s is first of all, they sound great. I brought a pair of them, I think I mentioned 3 weeks ago, to rehearsal. The thing that I discovered in a live venue, the 112s don't have quite enough throw, and that's where I really kind of went, okay, I need at least one 412 cabinet. And the great thing about these Boogie 412s is they sound incredibly warm. So this guy right here, in terms of the going direct, kind of blending all these questions, great questions. Paul Richard, good morning, my friend. Is the 412s, unlike kind of traditional 412s, they're really, really, really well tuned. So they can be warm but punchy at the same time, which is kind of, they're usually a little bit of an oxymoron. That kind of, the thing that I love about John Petrucci's sound is that just when you hear him in the room, it basically just punches you in the solar plexus. And similarly, Andy Timmons has that same vibe. So I was kind of a little, just kind of go, what's going to change or what's going to be different when I start running direct out of the Mark 7? Because invariably, 2 412 cabinets are going to sound or feel a little bit different than using an IR going straight into Pro Tools. But what I discovered is it's really, really, really close. And what's neat about it is it gives me the ability to kind of find some nuance in a way that sometimes with a 412 cabinet, because you're not hearing it in the same way you hear near-field monitors, allows you to hear in a way that near-field monitors allow you to hear some of the nuance. And I'm still kind of working the fine-tuning. I'm on the second channel here. That channel came together really easily. The third channel took a little bit more. Took a little bit more nuancing for me to find it. Kind of get it dialed in the zone. Between the presence and the treble and the mid-range, it's a matter of trying to get it to sit in the right place, not just on its own, but in the framework of a mix. I'm going to mute for a second. I'm going to jump back to this little bit. It's 59 degrees in Cincinnati. Holy cow. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Great to see you, my friend. Hello, hello, hello. How was the Japan Philharmonic? All right, let's see if we can do this. Trying to get it to sit in the right place in the mix, just kind of the right blend of presence, treble, bright enough that it's clear. Got enough sizzle on the top end, but not so it's pokey. It's kind of, spent a bunch of time yesterday, and then I kind of came down this morning and just kind of went, just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and just trying to find that right spot where it's not too forward in the mix, but it's not too far back. It's a very strange thing because it's different a little bit than how you would just set the amp in the room. So all that to say is that the IRs that are in there are really, really, really well done. So it means that then I can go back to the amp and fine tune it and just kind of make it fit a little bit. And so it's neat to be able to have that kind of hands-on experience with an amplifier that, again, you know, the number 3 channel, I'm using the Mark IV mode, which I love. I mean, that's just direct out of the back of the amp. It shouldn't sound that good, but it do. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. There we go. Awesome, 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 awesome. Great to see you, my friend. Okay, does your ability, okay, that's going to be tiny, tiny, tiny. Does my ability to play legato depend a lot on that sustaining at gas differently? How much gain on the Mark VII contributed to legato playing? Great question. So the interesting thing is that if I'm not on my P's and Q's, the battery in the Sustainiac will die, which this one has done. Actually, you know, I've got to be making a video about this. It'll probably make a pop when I do this. Oh, not only did I take, that's hilarious, to take the battery, did the battery die? And I actually took it out and I'm charging it. So I've been doing this experiment. Hang on a second. I'll be back in just a moment. Doug, you come back. And he kind of, oh, where did my battery go? MIA battery. So I did this experiment where I bought a bunch of batteries. I could do that. From Amazon, and generally kind of the Amazon Basics batteries are, the word meh comes to mind. But I also kind of tried out these kind of rechargeable batteries, and those in the midst of a studio clean that I did have temporarily disappeared. But in the meantime, I kind of started using these little guys. I'm going to find out one way or the other. That's, yeah. There we go. So you could hear it. So in any case, none of that was with the Sustainiac. And most of the time, you know, unless I'm specifically going for the Sustainiac, I've got it off. So if I turn the Sustainiac on, and on, you get more sustain. Gosh, that feels good. Here it goes off. All right, there we go. Nothing like a little legato in the morning to wake the fingertips up, but kind of the vibe I've been playing for the past couple of days, glued to Pro Tools here, has been not totally in the legato vibe, but that, as I kind of do that thing, one of the things I've been talking about with my students a lot is just kind of this left hand position. I'll share that with you a little bit. If you were to grab your phone and you were to hold the phone, normally you'd hold it between the first and fourth fingers. Not that the second and third aren't in there, but really I realized that the first and fourth fingers are where the hand position really gets set from, and then the second, third, you kind of dial them in around the... In any case, the idea of getting the volume from the middle fingers is about placing that left hand position. It was really kind of good to go right first and fourth fingers, because it's one of the things you don't necessarily think about. I mean, you think about classical hand position and all that, but really kind of that concept of aligning everything around the first and fourth fingers is a really great way to just kind of, if you will, snap to guide, because when you're in kind of, if you will, Eddie mode, as in... There, a little memory error. All right, in any case, I was saying shut up and talk. So great question. So I started to talk about these batteries. Hang on a second. Let me just back up a step and not miss anything. Let me finish the legato question. So the Mark 7, first of all, in the number 2 channel, which is the Mark 7 channel, it's purposely... I do have a foot switch for this thing, but that's the number 2 channel, which is in Mark 7 mode. So the thing about the legato tape, kind of once you're in the mode, if you will, it kind of, you don't necessarily have to have a huge amount of gain. And in some ways, less gain gives you a little bit more enunciation around those notes, more gain. Less gain. I really like hearing the I can't do it, but the pluckiness of the, if you will, the percussiveness of what's happening. It's the equivalent of, there it is. Where I notice the difference in gain the most is when faster picking, you can't quite get the same gusto when there's less gain than. But conversely, when you want to go for something that's a that Mark 7 channel is really pretty for that. It's got all the classic boogie vibe to it, but they just really did a lot. All right, first of all, here's I'm here to listen to your big notes phrasing, Doug Dover. Thank you, Jimmy. I love that, and it's always nice to be encouraged for those big notes, right? You know, because you kind of get in guitar head. Let me turn this thing off. The vocal mic that is. That's one of the things this amp does so well is that pretty big notes. Gosh darn it, Peter Davidak. Hello, my bass playing friend. Are you a 4-string friend or a 5-string friend? That's what I want to know. Or are you a 9-string friend because you play both? Sonia, good morning to you. Almost missed it since the Germans are already set to our clots to wintertime. Always a pleasure. Great to see you, or yeah, see you. Even though that's, I don't know, let's say that's 4-point. Pleasure. Hello, hello, hello. Right. Next week's show. Next week we're an hour later. That's right. For those of us that get an extra hour of sleep. Tomorrow. Hey, that's great. I get an extra hour. So, all right. Are the non-chargeable batteries, 9-volt batteries, are they alkaline? I will research that. But what I discovered was I was very hesitant. I'm kind of like, because in the past I've tried them before and was kind of disappointed. But they were kind of on a reasonable price on Amazon because they were running some special. Amazing how when you're searching for something, it mysteriously is on special. But when you haven't bought something and then you go back, you're like, no longer on special. But they worked really, 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 really well. And you get like a 4-pack or a 5-pack for some very reasonable price. And there's this little, I'm going to grab it. Give me a moment. There's a coupler, and this is really kind of one of the most intelligent things I've ever seen. There's a multiple charger USB coupler. I'm like, now that is crafty because they actually kind of went, chances are you might want to, I don't know, charge one for your guitar and your wah-wah. And I was just blown away. So now I need to find the rest of them. I had a guest here that was doing some video shooting, and there was some mad scrambling that went in before they arrived with their camera crew, and we'll just leave it at that. But those batteries worked great, and I was very, very impressed. And I think to the point where I actually used one in a gig, which actually kind of is the ultimate sign of just like, okay, I'm in, right? Okay, all right. Okay, Sonia, you have to be careful with rechargeable batteries. They don't often have exactly the same voltage. It's usually not a problem, but you leave a different sound in analog circuits. So the interesting thing is that, and I truly appreciate that. One of the things is I have my little battery tester. Literally, it's nearby because I'm always testing the voltage of my 9-volt batteries and the other batteries as well. But the interesting thing is that this Sustainiac circuit is kind of the battery is kind of always in the process of losing charge at some state or another. So I actually will measure these guys. One of the things that I loved about these batteries, at least as advertised, is they don't have a memory. So one of the things and those of you that are battery folks, you'll know that kind of on rechargeables, and that, it has a tendency, especially in older days with your laptops and different types of devices, they would have a memory. And eventually, as the life of the battery goes down, it will only charge to that memory point and will only go to that and no further. These claim to be kind of free of that. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But yes, in the past, I've had all sorts of kind of not great experiences with it. But I thought, technology has come along ways, and I spend enough on batteries, and I kind of went, I don't know, let me give it a whirl. And by virtue of the fact that I put that Amazon Basics battery in there, I expect to get extremely poor life out of this. But for the sake of conversation, I wanted to put it in. But they're cheap and they're alkaline, and generally you only want to use alkaline batteries these days unless you're going for the Eric Johnson tone. My guess would be Eric. No, that's right. He uses the Evereadys, and I think he does use alkalines. And so, Sonia, to answer your question, and Eric Johnson, the funny thing is that, he was, if you've ever seen a photo of his pedal board, it's this strange kind of things are at angles and whatnot. And, depending on your gear and kind of who it's designed by and how it's set up, there is EMF, electromagnetic field interference that you can get. So literally, Eric, I saw an interview with him where one day he just said, hey, by the way, it's not just like I'm kind of like out on Mars. I just happened to be getting a buzz on my pedal board one day, and I kind of moved one pedal that way, and the noise went down. And he went like, I guess I'll leave it there. It's just like, so there's method and not just madness. And he's just like, all of us kind of engage different things around, things that where we're getting challenges. One of the challenges that I had, this neck pickup, we had to pot it because it was at high gain in a live situation in a neck position. It was just squealing. It's a really sounding pickup, really neat sounding pickup. I've got it on a slightly higher gain. And I realize that's a lot hotter. Probably, I'm probably peaking on input here. Sorry, I'm muting the mic. you know, and I'm running direct. I'm like, wait a second, it shouldn't be that. It goes just right out of the back of the amp. Really just been so unbelievably impressed. All right. But yes, the different battery, the voltage, absolutely. Sorry, that's 2-point font. Again, kind of recapping, be careful with rechargeable batteries. They often don't have exactly the same voltage, usually not a problem, but could lead to different sound in analog circuits. One of the great things I will test, thank you very much, is I will charge a bunch of them up, and I will test a bunch of them to see if there's variance between the different batteries. It's a great idea. Thank you for that, Dr. Sonia. Chris Alexander, can you have the Sustainiac on with other pickups engaged? The answer is no. It's a great question, and it only works on the bridge pickup. And once I have the Sustainiac engaged, I don't know how much, if ever, I've used it on a clean sound. Usually you turn the gain up. I just never think of using it on a clean sound. It's really kind of cool. A little bit like an E-boat, right? But it basically bypasses the pickup selector. And I can't tell you the number of times, you know, I've got the Sustainiac on, forget that it's on, because, you know, there's a certain period of time before it starts grabbing. Has to be on. Sorry, it's on this volume control, this tone pot right there, on a will, if you will, a pull-push pot, or some people call it a push-pull, but I think of it as a pull-push because you have to pull to turn it on and push to turn it off. I really wanted to do a push-push pot, but at the most recent G4 experience, I watched Mike, Joe Satriani's guitar tech, replacing a pot that had broken in transit, and so the pushes, they just break. If a case falls over, you know, kind of gets dinged, they break. And Gary Brower's like, you don't want to go that route, so I opted not to. And the cool thing is you get the visual feedback. You can feel if it's on. Hold on, let me do this. There you go. You can see it sits higher, so you can kind of get your hand. If I can, there you go. You can get your fingertips underneath. So here is the tone control for the neck pickup. And there's the tone control for the bridge pickup, and you can kind of feel with your fingertip where this one's closer to the body, and this one's, you can kind of get your finger in underneath that. You can tell, just in case, you know, it hasn't started grabbing or whatever sound you're using. That is to say, there are two modes to this. Fundamental. Octave up. And sometimes when you're in fundamental mode, there it's grabbing really quickly, but if you have the volume down, it takes a minute for it to come on. And actually that's one of my favorite things about it, is you bring the guitar down. You can kind of control the bloom on it, which I just love. Hello, Joker. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Awesome, awesome. Jethro Tull. I don't know any Jethro Tull, but if I did, I would gleefully play some for you. Gosh darn it. Jimmy Arsenault. So I am cool with Sims, but do you agree that with all of that, never replicate the sag of a tube amp or the way the amps do with various things digital cannot replicate? So here's the deal. The great thing about this setup is I'm getting everything about the amplifier versus modeling, which I love, don't get me wrong, but it does not have that natural sag. So the only thing that I've got, sorry, I didn't explain my signal chain here, so Jimmy, allow me to clarify, because you know a lot about gear and you know a lot about gigs, having booked me about 5 million times. So the great thing about the Mark 7 is there's a box called the Cab Clone IR, which is Boogie's reactive load box. But it also has just a kind of a mode where you can use it to kind of tap off of that and run your amp with speakers as well. There's Cab Clone IR Plus that actually has a power amp built in it. But the great thing about the regular Cab Clone IR is if you want to, you can uninterrupt, if you will, the path from the amp to the cabinet by just placing that box in between, but the signal path still passes through. But since Boogie actually made the Cab Clone IR, I felt confident enough in it, especially after having used it. I just kind of went, this thing is phenomenal. And I would use that as my conduit to go from the JP2C and the Mark V 25, come out of that, use that to go into the Axe Effects and split the sound from the Axe Effects into the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700, 350 watts per side. I also recently picked up a second Power Stage 170 that I've got in here for a 2 cabinet that I haven't had a chance to do yet, but I will in the next couple of weeks. 2 cabinet wet, dry, wet rig that you've heard me ramble on a bunch about. But the idea is I've kind of got a couple of different rigs that I'm going to kind of set up and do demos for and talk about some of the different ways you can run things. Mono, dual mono, wet, dry, wet, stereo. And I'm probably going to do a larger video, I think, or a video series with different people that I interview about kind of their take on playing in mono or stereo. Got to kind of figure out which is going to be the best for the end user and the best for me to produce without kind of losing my mind. But the point being is there's all sorts of implications around which way you're going to do that. That said, the great thing about the way this is you're getting all the magic of that Boogie power amp, and it's just basically taking you're getting rid of the speaker cabinet and you're putting a reactive load so the amp thinks it's seeing a speaker cabinet. And between Boogie and the people at 2 Notes that designed that circuit, they've done it exceptionally well. So I had total confidence that the Mark 7 would be really close. It's actually better going direct in, because when you start dealing with really high gain stuff is when you really start noticing any kind of artifacting thing. And it sounds so close to my 412 cabinets. It's not identical, but I'd say it's so close in the nuance of how the amp behaves and performs. I'm kind of like, okay, this is great, which for me is a big deal because I want to not have to use those in the way that I'm using them. So that's a very, very big deal to me. So with Ola is right, you cannot replicate that. There's nothing like, again, I'm on the clean channel. And the great thing about this particular clean channel, sustaining echo off. Part of the magic is, and I've got it set so the gain on that channel is fairly high. It's probably like, it's at 8, right? If I go over the bridge position, I hit a chord. Sorry if that was, I just blew anybody with ears, earbuds. Just a gorgeous sound. And part of that is I'm purposely going to the power amps like, we're hitting the preamp hot. The one thing that you can do with that that you can't do when you're in the amp with the room, you have to adjust your input levels, is you can start really pushing the power amp section. The amp behaves differently. It's kind of, and I think I mentioned this last week, and I think Jimmy Jett commented on this. The thing about the Marshall JVM is in a really loud setting, when you start pushing the amp, the power amp distorts, which for a non-high gain preamp setting is great. For a high gain preamp setting is terrible, because it means when you want the amp to respond and stay, present, it just starts to sag in a not good way. So, you know what? I'm going to need to make a note here in my notes here, Jimmy. What a great topic. When is sag good? And when it isn't. So that's a really important thing, because it's actually an integral part. Now, the interesting thing is, invariably I'll talk about the JP2C. They purposely designed that amp such as the preamp section on the clean channel, the power amp on the clean channel and the preamp, it doesn't really sag, which is not necessarily the sound that I go for. But again, Petrucci is famous for kind of using compression on his clean sound, so it enables that sound to be really present. Again, with all the quote-unquote noise happening with a band like Dream Theater, where there's so much information happening musically, that's an environment where you don't want the sag from your clean channel. So I totally get that. And Jimmy, that made total sense. And first of all, Ola knows a thing or two about tone. All right, great to see anybody who spent time on the steps of the BCT, Berkeley Community Theater. By the way, that's half a point. Sure, that says over there in Japan, over here in Japan, rather. All right, so let me try that again. It's great to see anybody who spent time on the steps of the BCT wearing a shirt that says, as they say over here in Japan, Jimmy Hen, paying homage to one of the greats that graced Berkeley with their presence. Absolutely, my dear friend. Berkeley Community Theater, BCT. Hendrix played the Jimmy Plays Berkeley show was shot there, and we went to high school there. Now, did we not? Jimmy, I still... the hallowed halls of tone have been silenced. Jimmy, is your Langer the preamp, or is it one of his modified Marshalls? Todd Langer was the genius behind ADA's most brilliant designs. He also made the Langer preamp, and he also did a bunch of modified Marshalls. Absolutely iconic amps. And Jimmy, I guess I knew that you had one, but I had forgotten that you did. So let us know which you've got. Zach Gordon, what's going on, nephew? What's going on here? There we go. Great song. Great to see you, Zach. Great to see you, my friend. All right. How about that? I did take a request. Some of the rechargeable batteries are a bit larger than a regular battery. I got too stuck in a Tonewood acoustic amp. Ooh, not good. Yes, some of them, I do remember the form factor was a little bit bigger. That would not be a good thing to have happen. These guys, I need to measure them as well. Okay, hang on a second. All right, I need to make a note in my rechargeable batteries. Recharge. Does rechargeable have an E? No. Well, I mean, at the beginning, rechargeable batteries. Looks like not. Batteries. Size. charge measurement. Okay, good. Okay, all right, Bobby Valdez, yes, getting tweaky with me. Come on. It's the kind of tweaker we like. Ooh, that didn't quite come out right. Got kind of a sad story. People who struggle with addiction with speed, that I didn't really mean it to kind of come out as judgmentally as I could have. It just kind of, I remember being at GIT when I was down there studying in 85, and a buddy of mine came down and visited me, and he brought a friend with him. And the guy just made me just nervous. And I found out later he was shooting speed in my bathroom, and I'm just like, all right, that would explain what I was picking up on. I'm just like, shooting speed in my bathroom, like, just if I needed to use my bathroom, and I don't know, maybe you were dead on the floor from a speed overdose, it could be a little awkward for me. And, needless to say, drug addiction is an addiction, but... Moving on. Bobby Valdez. Let's get back to the kind of tweaker we like best. Am I running at 25, 45, or 90 watts now and get lots more headroom that you prefer live playing? So, Bobby, that is a great question, and that is the essence of okay, so, Adrian, what's going on? Okay, hang on. Thanks, Zach. Okay, let me just make sure I haven't missed anybody. Hey, what's going on, Ice? Rez, thank you so much. Okay, good. I'm just kind of staying on top of stuff. I'm a tweaker in the best way. Craig, what's going on? Variac concept. Induction of applied voltage will change the power section terminology, brown sound, but it needs to cut or the ear will tell. All hard to explain, but too much gain design becomes unusable. Okay, backing up a step. Okay, so amp, oh boy, I need to do a video, and it'll probably be in around a bunch of the boogie content, but amps and headroom. So this is a really important concept, and I don't have the time today because I'm supposed to be recording a little bit later. I'm in pre-production, and so I'm taking the day off teaching with the exception of 2 students, Paul Richard, because I know you do stuff on Sunday. I opted not to move your lesson because I love you so much. Okay, so do you use any combo amps? Any reason not to lean so much on combo amps? That's a great question as well that I'm going to fold into all of this. I go back and forth with different types of amp. Oh boy. Gosh, you guys are great. When to combo. Speaking of tweaker reminds me of Breaking Bad. Combo, right? In any case, tragically died. Slinging speed, imagine that. For those of you who don't speak tweaker language, slinging speed means you're out there on a corner selling bags of speed. I don't know. Yeah, in any case, let's not digress too far. If you think of your car stereo, your speakers are in the door or other places, right? So the environment in which a speaker is placed really has a lot to do with so many things. And it influences the way the sound is projected into the environment. An open back cabinet can do things in a combo in a live environment that are really good for the player. So the great thing about the smaller Boogie 112 cabinets is not only do they have really good forward projection, even the closed back ones have really great spatial projection, with the exception of when compared to an open back cabinet, which projects sound backwards, and in turn you manipulate the environment to fill the sound stage with that sound. That's one of the great things about open back cabinets. One of the deterrents from using one if you've got a lot of volume is what it does is it affects the SPL, sound pressure level. That is to say, if you have a plastic bottle and you put a cap on it, it keeps it sealed. If I take that cap off, the water is going to exit in one direction. If I take the cap off and I put a hole somewhere in there, the water is going to escape in multiple directions, which means the amount of water coming out of the main hole is going to be affected by the water coming out of the other hole, which is loosely analogous with what happens when you've got sound coming out of the back of the cabinet. And that kind of the amount of water coming out is equivalent to how much pressure there is forcing that sound forward. So at this gig I did recently at Antlers Bar or whatever, it's Antlers, Roadhouse, Bar, whatever, I used two Boogie 112 closed back enclosures that sounded great in rehearsal. Just loved the sound, loved the way they filled the room, really nice vibe. I loved the way they sounded on the stage. They did not project in the same way the 412 cabinets do, because you got 412 cabinets that are just a little bit meaner. They don't do this little thing. I should say the little 112s do that really well. That's the second channel. I'm getting to headroom here. That's the third channel. And I don't have this as tight as I normally would because I've got it set for lead, but I'm going to mute the volume here. It's a little, when I'm going for my kind of classic Petrucci Metallica sort of thing, I'll tighten up the bottom end, which I could easily do, but I've got it a little bit on. A little bit saggy. And so, you know, kind of, there's a balance between getting that and then making the top end. It's like, really direct? How's that even possible? All right, so. Technically, that was from El Camino. And what was that guy's name? Does it really Skinny Pete? No. But in any case, in the Breaking Bad thing, when they're buying the road cases, he busts out on some mad electric piano skills. All right, getting back, and that channel is a little noisy. Getting back to this headroom and cabinets, the combo. Most combos are open back, so you're kind of married to whatever it does. Now, and an amp like that, which is the California Tweed, I love the fact in a Tweed, I don't want a closed back cabinet. I want that thing to breathe and kind of do its thing. The other thing about Tweeds is that they're Class A and they're not super efficient. This gets us back into the headroom conversation. The great thing about what Boogie started doing, and nope, can't see it. Over there is my Mark II C+, and I'm waiting patiently. I had a new grill made in Lisbon, Spain, I think. That's a wicker grill that I'm going to put on there. The one that came on there was black, and I just like, you know, I love the look of Petrucci's J. A Mark II C+, where it's this beautiful wood and the wicker. That's really, for me, the iconic look of those amps. So I'm waiting for that thing to arrive. But the point being is that amp, mine is actually before simulclass. So simulclass, what it does is that two of the tubes, and I think the outside ones are Class A, B, and then the inside ones are Class A. I used to know that when I read one of the manuals, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. It kind of blends the classes and allows you to mix and match this. And so what happens is you have the efficiency of Class AB when you want and need it, and a blend of those two, so you get the tightness of Class AB with a little bit more headroom. That is to say, it doesn't break up in the power amp section as easily. It will if you turn it up loud enough. But then with the ability to blend into Class A, you're then able to kind of have a little bit of the sag in the power amp section at lower volumes, which for a lot of people is very pleasing. The later Mark IIc Pluses, there's a very limited run that they did before they brought out the Mark III. The later ones had simulclass. Mine's is not simulclass, and I learned from my buddy at Mesa Boogie the other day that Petrucci's ones are not the simulclass ones, the ones that he prefers, which is why the JP2C is a Class AB amplifier. It does not have simulclass, which is an important piece of information that I hadn't fully realized, because it allows you to know why John's amps, when you hear him playing in the room, it's like hitting you in the solar plexus. You're just like, dang, it's why those amps are so responsive. But yet his tone is very warm, but it doesn't break up in the power amp section. His gain generally comes from the preamp section and the ability to completely control that. Conversely, there is 90, 45, and 15, however many watts it is. I should know that. There's a boogie test at the end of this. Sonia, And Chris, I did see a message in there. Let me not rabbit trail. And Adrian, I saw it. I got. Yes. You'd mentioned that. Oh boy, now that's a half a point. Congratulations on the Mark 525. What a great amp. Dollar for dollar, the best amp I think money can buy. Just what a wonderful, 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 wonderful amplifier. In the clean section on that amplifier, the great thing about it is because it's a 25 watt amp, you can get it to give and sag. I just love the clean channel of that amplifier. I love the dirty channel, but here's the whole point is that the lower the wattage of the amplifier, regardless of Class A, Class B, Class AB, or Class A, I should say, the easier you can break it up at a reasonable volume. So part of what's happening in these boogie amplifiers is all three channels have the ability to run at 90, 45, and 15 watts, right? No. 25, my bad. 90, 45, and 25. And so, but when you go to 45 and 25, it's pentoed and then triad, I believe, is the mode that they're in of Class A. So you're not only bringing the wattage down, but it's not like in 25 watts, you're proportionately that much. I can't divide 90 by 25 at this hour of the day, but proportionately, let's just say it's roughly 1/3 of the watts, okay? It's not 1/3 of the volume. What it does give you the ability to do is make the power amp section behave less accurately. And so what happens, you get this give and the sag. So I am constantly going back and forth, manipulating the different sounds. One, because I love the sound of a tweed. Once you fall in love with what a tweed can do, it's got this particular thing to it. What am I in? There we go. I invariably am in, there we go, I'm in 25 watt mode. So literally I brought the headroom down and I'm in Class A so I can get. Now traditionally when you think of tweed, you think of a little bit more spank on the top end, but although kind of my main tweed amp has become the California tweed these days. On the other side of the room, I have Keith Richards' old high-powered twin, and then the Joe Bonamassa high-powered twin prototype, or one of them. And those two amps are kind of like, when people think of tweed, you watch Eric Clapton, they wheel out his amps, they bring out a high-powered tweed, high-powered twin. And those amps are kind of the essence of when people think of that, as well as somewhere around here, over there, is the Edge Deluxe, which is also another tweed amplifier. And kind of one day the Edge was someplace because AC30s, although I don't understand all of this stuff well enough, are classically referred to as Class A, but there's some component of the circuit that makes them not totally Class A that I can't really get into because I'm not studied enough to know or explain that. In any case, generally people think of AC30 as Class A. And so Dallas, whatever his last name, Shu, the Edge's tech, the Edge needed an amp one day, and so Dallas brings in this Tweed Deluxe, and the Edge was kind of like, "What's this?" And he plugged into it, and we were like, "Wow!" There is a brilliant video of the Edge running into an MXR M169 carbon copy into the little Edge Deluxe, and you just kind of go, "Wow!" And you really begin to realize, how much that Tweed sound is kind of in so many different amplifiers. That is to say that power amp section breaking up is an integral part of so many of the sounds that we like. This is where the gradation and the nuance comes into this. How much do you want that to break up, and how little do you not want it to break up? And that's where that 90, 45, and 25 switch is so important for me. On the number 2 channel, I'm in Mark 7 mode. Let me go into 90 watt. It gets louder, but not only that. 45 watt mode. 25. Hear how it gets softer? So I'm able to manipulate the headroom and the power amp section to get a little bit, not a little bit more, the amount of sag that I want. And in turn, I can manipulate the preamp section, but I'm very purposefully using the power amp section of the amplifier to choose where in the circuit, not just the front end, but in the power amp section, I want the give. And it's a world of difference. So the ability to manipulate that is very important. I have discovered that my favorite cabinet in the world is these Boogie rectifier standard slant cabinets, and they're a taller cabinet. In the room here, what's the white on top of it? Yeah, you will see that amp right there. That is the top of an Ampeg V4 on top of a tall cabinet, and over there is the top of a Bandmaster Reverb on top of a 212 cabinet, and over there is a PV Mace on top of a tall PV 412 cabinet. That is to say, not a standard kind of square, but a taller cabinet. And I've got 2 of the Marshall JH100 tall cabinets kind of over there, over yonder. So I'm a big fan of taller cabinets. There's something about them that is really special. Maybe it's that it's not a square box, that in turn you get kind of these internal reflections that add some resonance that kind of gets in the way of I don't know. The reality is that that what you don't want to do when building a studio is have parallel walls. You want to do some things that if you do have no choice of that, you interrupt things with a combination of reflection and absorption. So you if you will, cull the standing waves that'll bounce back and forth. A square room is particularly difficult because the distances are the same, so you're going to get this compounded thing where, and again, I'm not like Mr. Genius on all of this, but the square room is really kind of bad because you then get these standing waves that are all the same length, and it really has a tendency to sum, as I understand. If they're different lengths between the parallel surfaces, at least it's not the same distance between bouncing back and forth where these standing waves get excited. There'll be certain frequencies, just in the same way if I kind of sometimes you'll find a note that resonant frequency is really hot on in a cabinet especially, and that's kind of where the internal things happening inside a cabinet begin to matter. All that is to say is that the rectifier standard cabinets, I just love them. They're a little bit taller. I like that they're angled, and what I love about them is I can literally have them right behind me, and I'm not going like, holy cow, ice pick. They're very warm, but yet they're very present. They found that perfect balance of kind of just being forward, but not ice picky. That's a very difficult thing to do. If you stand right in front of a Marshall cabinet, they can be a little spiky if you're too close. They're best tasted with about 10 feet between you and them. The sound gets a chance to break up a little bit and disseminate in the air. These guys, they just sound great near or far. They just are the magic cabinet for me. But, you know, when you're looking for kind of a milkier tone, they really do a great job of delivering that, but the little 112s do an even better job because they're just a little bit more sensitive. The thing that they don't do is that really tight thing that, again, I don't have it dialed in, largely because of the way I've got both these set up. Oh, right. That is the third channel on Mark IV mode that I put into 90 watt power, and it brings up the headroom so you get a little bit more crunch out of the bottom end. It doesn't loosen up, but you don't get the smoothness. And right now I'm kind of in melody mode. And solo mode, and you want a little bit more breakup in the bottom end. I rabbit trailed here, but this is really, 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 really important stuff. What's going on, Ice Boy? How you doing? So this this ability to manipulate that means that you're able to fine tune. Jimmy, by the way, answering. I have the preamp and the Brutus. Last one's made. Wow. To be continued. I think I knew that. Elite preamp. Oh. The layer stuff was amazing. Wow. Okay. All right. Oh, Sonia coming in at 3/4 of a point there. Chris Alexander asking about the boogie stomp boxes. I have tested the Flux Drive and the Throttle Box EQ for a German website a while ago. I love them both. Great pedals. I kept the Throttle Box. Great to know. Where's my? So this, I think I showed it off last week. I don't remember, but I grabbed this. These are temporarily unavailable, but I've heard that they're gonna maybe be available again. So this is the Boogie 5-band EQ, which is built into the Throttle Box, I believe. But this is just a standalone 5-band EQ that I got on Reverb, and I'm going to be using this for some tests I'm going to do with a Mark IIB that is a non-EQ Mark IIB, with comparing it with the Mark IIB that is in the Mark VII, and just kind of A-Bing back and forth. I don't expect them to be identical, but it will be nice to be able to do apples and apples and be able to bring in the EQ and the effects loop of the Mark IIB. I have one of the Boogie Stomps. Generally, it's my understanding after kind of doing a little bit of reading, but not a lot of hands-on, other than the one that's here. Hang on. Sorry. Hang on, let's see. M. Where are you in the M's? You're not in the M's. Sorry, off camera. I'm in the M section, and I'm not seeing the Mesa Boogie pedal, which is strange. Hold on, are you hidden back there? There we go. There we go. Come here. You're in the M's, but you got put to the back. Very bad etiquette. All right, there we go. All right, found it. All right, here we go. We got a Grid Slammer, which I think is their Tube Screamer, hence the name Grid Slammer. So all that to say, that box I've used. I know Petrucci was using that, so that's one of the reasons I picked that puppy up. But that's great, Sonia. I look forward to checking those out. So here's the thing about those different Boogie boxes. I understand they're designed partially to create the sound of different boogie amps. One of them is supposed to be the dual rectifier and whatnot. So in a boogie amplifier, that may not necessarily be, you know, trying to capture a boogie amp in a boogie amp. You don't need to do it. It's kind of like using the Marshall Governor. It sounds great into every amp but a Marshall. It sounds terrible in a Marshall. Just absolutely terrible. All right, let's see. Here we go. Chris Thompson. Hey, hello. Christopher, excuse me. Great show today. I'm thinking about grabbing a patch panel. I have heard several heads and I'm tired of pulling. I have several heads. I'm tired of pulling them out to move my pedal board and cabs between them. I figured the loop ins and outs of the amps are a safe way to run into patch bay. What about the speaker routes? I'm guessing that wouldn't be great, but I don't want to blow anything up. So, great question. So, is it? No, it's not. Give me just one moment. Now, I have to preface this by saying that my wife may not be happy with what I'm about to say. But that happens. So this guy right here is the Kahayan amp looper. And so as you can see, it's got, I think there are two versions of this at least. So this one has the ability to select one of 8 amps and one of 4 speaker cabinets. It got a ton of patching and MIDI on the back. I have yet to implement this here, but will be. It's been here for a hot second. So one of the things that I have heard about these is that if you have the amps too close to one another, they can get squealy on higher gain settings. I don't play with obscenely high gain, so I don't anticipate that's gonna be a problem. But I have yet to actually do the hard testing on that. So a device like that, there's another one that I'm going to forget the name of that's made in Germany. Sonia would know. Sounds like a Beatles song. Sonia would know. That is another one. What's his name? Working class dog session guy in LA. Blanking on his name. PRS artist. He uses the Cayenne, so I'm, you know, if it's good enough for him, Tim Pierce, probably more than good enough for me. So the idea is that enables you to not just switch between heads, but chances are with all the different cabinets you've got, you can do that. But yes, you want to be very, 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 very careful dealing with keeping a load on the amps. The boogie stuff is generally designed so that you can kind of have some wiggle room just in case you do something stupid. They kind of know that guitar players every so often just do stupid stuff and kind of aren't paying attention, and they hook stuff up to the wrong thing. The boogie people are really good about that. That doesn't mean purposely go and try it. But there are a number of boogie amps here that I'm going to have connected to a bunch of different cabinets, and it's going to be really cool to experiment between the different ones and be able to imagine. And I've got to figure out how I'm going to set up some sort of room microphone that's good for this. I don't think that shotgun's going to be the best way to do it. But chances are a pair or kind of some drum overheads may or may not be kind of the kind of solution for that. But just to be able to pick up the sound, and it will be in the room, the amp's in the room, but the idea is like, here's an open back, here's a closed back. The way they fill the room is going to be different. You kind of have to experience it, but at the same time, I think the right microphones and overheads may be the best way to do that. You'll hear the room, but it's a matter of kind of getting it close enough. You can do that. But the idea of being able to get those and the working with the different cabinets. So I've got the tall rectifier cabinets. I've got combos. I've got the Thiel cabinets, which are actually, they behave very much like a 412 cabinet in a 112 enclosure. They're ported, but they have very aggressive in a good way sound. The other ones, and then kind of there's a Mark I prototype over there. So being able to kind of, although that obviously has its own enclosure connected, as an aside, hook different amplifiers to the 112 open back enclosure and just kind of go, hey, to answer Paul's question, I don't know, what does the Mark VII sound like into that combo enclosure? So that is to say, that sort of flexibility, and because that's MIDI, you could sit here at, your workstation and be able to control the MIDI. And you can't blend amps, but if you needed to, Sonia's got you covered with the fulcrum. So this guy's sitting here waiting to be employed. And Sonia, I don't know if you were here last week, but I'm really excited. I know you may be a little disappointed that I'm more excited about being a desktop version of it. But to me, I kind of looked at this and I went like, this is just kind of like, it's like a mouse. So the ability to actually place this on the desktop and use this as an expression pedal, but not having to use my feet is one of the most attractive things about it. And of course has the very familiar in Boogie World tread plate there. So gosh darn it, getting close. All right. And then there's somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. The high-powered Tweed Twin is Class AB. Well, there's that. Okay. Well, the Edge Deluxe is. How about that? We'll leave it at that. I did not know that. And believe it or not, neither of those amps came with a flippin' manual. What's with people these days? In any case, all right. Thank you for that, Sonia. Appreciate that. Gosh darn it. Okay. Chris, Stephen Farley, Chris, it all depends on the power carrying ability of the chain, easily enough to find speaker level patch components. I must have missed something there. So Christopher, I hope I answered your question. So that box is available from Sweetwater, which is one of the reasons that I bought it. It says that I was like, you know what, if they've got it, it was going to be a good thing to go. Thanks, Paul. No, that's great. You always ask great questions. Steve, hello. Dude, thank you so much. What a pleasure, my friend. That fills my tank. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Chris Wagner, what's going on, my man? I got my hands on James Hetfield's new book. He has some really interesting things to say about how he blends Mesa Boogie Mark II C++ amps with Marshall's Wizard diesel amplifiers. Really? Huh. So the see if I can go into this. I'm a Boogie endorser. So there's certain things that are going to be long-term and short-term goals. One of the things that I actually want to do, but I'm going to gently put the brakes on, is I have a Jose modded Marshall that's here, and kind of the Master Puppet sound, and it'll be in the book there. Charles, can you tell me when he was running out of the Mark II C+ into the Jose modded Marshall, was he running into a Marshall cabinet? And if so, were there G12T75s in there? That's what I want to know. Very interesting. And yes, I interviewed Justin Kirk's tech, and one of the things he said, was the Metallica sound is the blending of two amps either getting along or arguing a little bit. So blending amps is definitely a thing, and actually that amp there and the mystery, can't talk about it yet, prototype amp that's here, the blend of those two amps is magic. The interesting thing about part of what makes it magic is that with one of my captures, because I'm running them direct, you'd notice it probably in the room, but when they're panned hard left and right, if they're out of phase with one another, kind of makes it cooler until you sum it in a mono. And I kind of generally am very good about testing stuff and summing it in a mono and kind of going, oh, sound just disappeared, or you get some weird thing. So phase is an issue, lest we never forget it. Oh, awesome. Excellent. We know the Guitar Players Book Club. Recto cabinets sound the best, and they're built to last. Such high quality, dude. Those cabinets are insane. All right, crazy gear story. Hello, Jeff Fogarty. There's a comment about miking. Hold on. What did Jimmy Jets? Where did I miss the question about miking? It's never a good sign when I start scrolling backwards. Oh, am I using the amp's reverb? Yes, that is the Boogie reverb is great. The only thing I wish they did in the Lone Star that's over there, they've got Fender reverb and Boogie reverb. The Fender reverb is a slightly shorter reverb. But this reverb... wait, hang on a second. No, that's not totally true. Let me fix this. Hang on a second. There was the delay and... just Boogie reverb. On that number 2 pickup selection, you can hear a little bit of the boxy quality that a 412 cabinet has on a clean sound. And that's kind of one of the few places, although if you're just very conscious of which pickup selection you're in, number 4, again, this is really kind of like this, it's a super V. It's not a super strat, it's a super V. Where I basically, I don't know, looks a lot like a Les Paul. To the best of my knowledge, this is the only flying V in the world, besides the other one I'm having built, that has four controls like a Les Paul, and a 5-way switch, and a whammy bar. That I'm pretty positive, and a Sustainiac. In any case, what did I start to say? The ability to manipulate where I'm going to be, the number 4 pickup selection in particular, allows me to kind of use the 412s and where the number 2 gets a little tiny hint of that boxiness. I can manipulate the guitar in such a way that when I hear that, if I don't want that, and there are times, there's a little video that I did, and you're not going to be able to see it, but it when I want to get, if you back off on the strings a little bit, where are you? Nah, you're not going to be able to hear it. But I basically had this... What's neat about it is if you hit it soft... I was telling Melissa, it reminded me of a U2 song. Now I found it. Okay. In any case, if you're gentle with the pick and don't dig in, it's a... It does what a traditional kind of open back 112 combo doesn't do, where it kind of gives up the ghost. This doesn't. So if you back off with a pick or use a thinner pick, like one of these yellow Tortex, come here, come on, come on. There we go. It just allows you to kind of lose a little bit of the transient. All right. Gosh darn it. All right. Yes, oh, okay. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let me back up a step. Michael Hodge, what's going on? Hello. Wait. Hold on. Holy cow. Oh, boy. We got all sorts of good stuff going on. Oh, wait. Okay. First of all, Jeff, great to see you. And yes, hold on. Chris, I love the rectifier cabinets. They are just, it's, you know, Mesa Boogie makes great amps. They make phenomenal cabinets. A funny thing happened. There was a Chris Stapleton amp that little Princeton that Fender did a version of that was here, and I just kind of, you know, they said it's also good for running out into a larger cabinet. So I was like, they try the Boogie rectifier cabinet. It was one of the most amazing sounds I've ever heard. These cabinets are insane. Jeff Fogarty, hello, my dear friend. Hello. You're coming in at, let's say 1 point font. Jimmy Jet, and use 2 different mics, say at 57 on the front, on the cone off axis, and an AKG 414 in the back. Check the phase. I do that a lot. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I have never mic'd from the back, gosh darn it. And the idea of capturing that, you know what? Thank you, Jeff. Right. Boy, I'm kind of a moron sometimes. It's exactly how I'm going to capture the sound of the open back cabinets, because I can capture the back of the cabinet. Just check for phase alignment. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, at Chris. Oh, definitely worth a read. Blah, 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 blah. All right, short version is and that's going to be impossible to read. But basically, what's cool is that once you figure out the sound, it feels like you can take it in another direction, which is the whole thing that I love to do. Combo of guitars, amps, pickups. That guy knows a thing. And then a Boogie Mark V, the Boogie Mark 5 band EQ is an absolute must-have. Absolutely. And that's kind of why this little guy always was like, I was on the hunt. I spent way too much time looking for one because they're really hard to find. Okay. Awesome, Christopher. Excellent. Grid Slammer tightens up a dual rectifier nicely. Okay. So again, the one amp that's missing is a dual rectifier. And Melissa heard that, so it's not going to be, but we'll figure that out. Do not ever hot plug power amp outputs with the phone plugs. They short the connectivity while plugging. Thank you, Sonia. Dr. Sonia has spoken. She's talking about routing in terms of kind of routing into a, what are those boxes called? You plug all your stuff into in the studio. Yes, thank you. Not stupid stuff on amps. So the thing is that these are great questions, and the great things is you begin to kind of go, well, what is common knowledge? What's not common knowledge? And people have a tendency to use the gear the way they use the gear. It wasn't until I started playing with plugging into tweeds that I kind of went, oh, there's a sound that I hadn't imagined that I was going to fall in love with. And it's an integral part of kind of my vibe, that even though I'm not necessarily playing, you know, traditionally thought I turned the mic off. In any case, just kind of, oh, dang it. So the flippin' A. That just makes you want to flip and play guitar. So that is kind of, it's classically, it's totally the Stones. And there's a song off of Swagger called, I don't know, Swagger. That is all about, the bed of that song is all about the Tweed sound. That vibe is like, it's just nasty. In a different type of way that, a lot of the music that I kind of spent so much time going after. Is that a Sound Sculpture Switchblade? I do not know what a Sound Sculpture Switchblade is, but I will in a moment. Sound Sculpture Switchblade. No. Cool. I've never heard of these guys. No, that is the Kahayan. And then there's also the RJM stuff, but RJM doesn't make that particular type of box. All right. More gear. Mr. Tonic, how you doing? Happy Saturday. Cool device. I have an old Framptone 3-banger that allows you, so it's 3 amps, super fun. Those, I don't have any Framptone gear, and they look and sound great. Great to see you, my friend. Michael Hodge, hello. Thank you very much. I love this shirt. Nothing like a little Jimmy in the morning. Not that that really sounds anything like Hendrix, but... Okay, here we go. Okay. Do I think that Gibson will release an Alpine White version of the 80s reissue Explorer? Absolutely no idea. Are you an Explorer guy? I do not. Melissa, I don't own an Explorer. Nor will I anytime soon. I don't know. It's a great question. I actually really, the great thing about each one of these guitars, when you pick it up, you kind of go, oh, there's a voice in there that you didn't know that you needed. I hope I don't end up on the couch because of that one. Shame you don't have any DPA microphones to use. That's true. Love you, sweetheart. Okay. High-powered twin is indeed Class AB. There we go. Christopher, with pleasure. Yes, the Marshall cabinets with the G12 T75s. Thank you. Okay. What's going on, Kevin? How you doing? I don't know. Here he comes. Gosh darn it. So, no. I'm really the worst kind of request guy ever. Your Catalyst called and said with all the boogies that is feeling left out. The funny thing is that the Catalyst lives underneath the desk here. And it played such an important part in the songwriting and creative process that it's kind of irreplaceable. But since the Boogie Gear showed up and I started going direct with that, besides the Dallas International Guitar Festival, which I had great pleasure using that amp there, and for that run of shows, I haven't been using it. But it's very cute, and it's a great amp. And for the money, it's just crazy good. Thank you, Charles. It can do just about anything. It's kind of crazy. I am, every so often you get some wacky idea and you just run with it. And you find out that it wasn't just a wacky idea after all. By the way, my pet peeve, and I saw people hold a flying V like this. I'm like, what the hell? Holy cow. Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you didn't know, it goes on the leg. And, the great thing is, look, mono hands, right? But, I saw this video of a guy holding it. I'm just like, what are you doing? Are you new? Holy cow. Sorry, I digress. Jay, hello. Good morning to you. All right. Not only am I close enough to the boogie shop that I can go and try stuff, I can kidnap amps if I'm fast enough. Yes, and it's great. And they're lovely, lovely people, and they have been so incredibly good to me. I'm a fan of a 57. Let's see, is this going to be a quarter of a point? There we go. By the way, when I talk about points, I'm talking about font size. For those of you, all right, who don't speak graphic design or have never used Word. I'm a fan of 57 and a Sennheiser 421 setup with an AKG 414 about 6 feet away from the cabinet. The blend away, and then blend away to my heart's content. I recently sold a Royal 121 too. I'm prepping my Mesa Mark 7 purchase. Awesome. No, I absolutely love this amp. And when last we spoke, I had not started using it direct. So this has been a really, really important week for me in Mark 7 world, because that was kind of like the final, does it do that? Because it works great live. Probably my best gig ever was at the Baked Potato. I'd had the amp for less than a week. I think I went up there and grabbed it on the Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'm like, this thing's going to be great. And it was phenomenal. Did a rehearsal, dialed things in a little bit. By dumb luck, found that I don't like using the graphic equalizer on the clean channel, and found out later watching a Petrucci video where he's up there demoing the Mark V 25, playing it, I think, before it came out. Maddie just kind of lets it slip. Oh yeah, he doesn't use it. We don't use the graphic EQ on the clean channel. I went, So in any case, ooh. All right. Hey, what's going on, Brett? Great to see you. I hope things are going well, or as well as they can be. Kind of that continuum. Sonia, hello. Welcome to the guest. And by the way, I'm about to get out of here because I got an album I got to get back to making. I'm a V Explorer, Thunderbird, and Les Paul guy. Yes, dyed in the wool. Love that right there. I do not have an Explorer nor a V. Christmas is coming. All right, Charles, and then I got a Jet, ladies and gentlemen. I regret selling my Fender B-Bender Telecaster. Of all the guitars I wish I could get back, it would be that one. Yeah, no, obviously we have a little Jimmy Page thing going on there. All right, first of all, thank you so much. This has been such a fill-the-tank moment, as every Saturday is. I just cannot thank you enough. This is so much fun. Gosh darn it. So in any case, thanks for all the folks and just the thoughts and the food and all of that. Just great inspiration on every level. I thank you, Chris. No, thank you, my friend. And I didn't get to your question. Hang on a second. That's disrespectful. Hang on a second. I don't actually have a lesson to get to, so let me just... Grady Horde. Okay. Hello. Okay. Excellent. Okay, there we go. So let's get to Chris Alexander. Are there any features I would like to see Mesa add to their amps? And does the wood of a cabinet is made of matter? Yes, it does. And what do I think of cabinets that use 10-inch speakers? Boy, we're on a speaker trail. There we go. Oh, you're a naughty guy. I can't click that link in here, but maybe that's a good thing. Charles, much appreciated. Ron, hello. Thank you so much. Mr. Tonic, thank you so much. Really appreciate that as well. Okay. So yes, the wood does matter. Gosh darn it. Totally. Me and names as I've gotten older are bad. IR Maker, he and I had this whole conversation about old cabinet wood. In particular, we were talking about recto cabinets. He said once they've been played a bunch, the wood kind of, just in the same way a guitar gets played, the grain, something happens. He said absolutely played rectifier cabinets sound way better. Older ones that have just been played, maybe a little beat, there's something about the tone that is better. That's a 110. If you think about a Super Reverb, one of the greatest clean amps ever made for 10 inches, 10-inch speakers, generally on high gain tones, I use the N-word, never use them. But for clean tones, they are magic. Oh, they have in a way that a clean tone, if you will, can bloom. Where 12s can be just a little tiny bit blocky, not boxy, but blocky. 10s are just, they've got a softness in the bottom end where 12s are just a little firmer. So they're a little bit more forgiving. They don't have as much low end generally, even though you see them in bass cabinets, but those are not traditionally guitar speakers loaded into bass cabinets. But there's something very pretty on the top end that really captures that with Super Reverb. It's a very special amp. So the 10-inch that's in that little combo is just magic. And so it just gives a sensitivity that 12s just don't have. Not that 12s can't be sensitive, but that's kind of, there we go. Think Princeton Jangle, that's the 10-inch magic. And it really is you just kind of go, you just can't quite get that nuance out of a 12. You can't get the things out of a 10 that you do out of a 12. So it's kind of a little bit of a compromise one way or the other, or you just have and again, getting back to Paul's comment, you have a combo with a 10-inch in it that you can then add into the rig. So, that's excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Brett's, you won't be able to read that for most people. It's a way to keep my sanity. I borrowed a friend's classical guitar. I'm going to try and record some Christmas songs. Wise move. Oh, hold on. This is going to make, hold on. Let me see if I can do this without making bad noise while I power this guy up. Power supply. There we go. Part of what I'm doing today is we are doing an instrumental remake of this song, Shape of My Heart, which is just an absolutely gorgeous song. And how about I tune this thing? But it's kind of funny. I played, a buddy of mine got married and asked me to play at his wedding. So I did, and it was at this beautiful, beautiful country club up in the Oakland Hills. And the woman that is the kind of events manager heard me play, and she kind of invited me to do some gigs up there, just playing solo acoustic guitar. I don't have any songs. I just kind of jam, or just kind of play little motifs. And so I do that kind of once a month. It's a private club, so I can't invite people there, but it's a very different experience. And so I recently got this specifically for this song. This guitar, let's see, my level's a little hot here. Me. Where's that going? There it is. And let me mute the mic. Something happening with the jack here. But what a ridiculous guitar. Just kind of so impressed. All right. You know, it's a funny thing is that I'm still kind of getting my picking. It's a very different instrument. The string spacing on this instrument is exceptionally wide. You can see it's got a wide neck, but there's a... It's like a $700 guitar. In the world of nylon strings, that's painfully cheap. That sound, though. And by the way, I'm playing through the Mesa Rosette preamp, which... Gosh darn it. So in any case, Brett, thanks for that. I'm going to be kind of heading back to that a little bit later. Yes, you have to get used to the width. Sorry, that's like 2 point. It is an extremely, I don't mind wide necks, but the string spacing took me a minute to get used to. In the right hand, it's a little bit of a journey, but it is so therapeutic to play that sound, just like it's. So I'm glad that we are on the same wavelength there. So wishing you peace in this kind of crazy moment. Hugh, I tested one of those Epiphones in the store years ago. Awesome. So thin. It's crazy thin. Crazy thin. Like, there's no reason. I got to do something about that. There's no reason this guitar should sound anywhere as good as a little out of tune still. These are, by the way, Dunlop strings. Change the strings on there, and Gary Brower. The saddle had to be replaced. That was a problem. Or so the Come on. The transducer in the bridge was not working properly, so Gary set up a new one of those babies. Okay, I got to get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. A little indulgent there. Yes, it was Chet Atkins that kind of got those guys going. And that's a Chet Atkins Epiphone model. And it's just a great guitar. Melissa, thank you so much for letting me get that. That's just going to be a really important instrument for adding another piece of the voice that I want to add. Putting these different... it is heavy. It's about half or so of the weight of the Flying V, which I've never weighed, but it is heavy. But I think that's probably what contributes to the sound of it. But I just love that little guitar. And it doesn't feel cheap, which is really cool. Probably wasn't. It's probably a $1,500 guitar back in the day, and I think I paid $700 for it on Reverb. They're kind of hard to find. And also find one that has been cared for, because quite often people, oh, it's just an Epiphone, throw it in the corner. But that guitar is very important to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, as are you. Really appreciate you sharing your Saturday with me. Have a great one. I look forward to seeing you next week. And I'll be back from the studio, so hopefully I have all sorts of great stories to share about that. Chris Alexander, thank you for your faithfulness and always bringing the great questions. Everybody, thank you for your time. Yeah, the case looks great. Sonia, what a pleasure. Thank you so much. You have a great weekend. Thank you for setting me straight on the Class AB amps back there. Gosh darn it. I'm like, it's just one of those things. You kind of get something. Brett, be blessed yourself, my friend. You get something in your head and you're like, it's this. And then you kind of like, okay. Thank you for that. And all the wise counsel. Sonia, always a pleasure. Dr. Sonia, I've now added the moniker. In any case, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great one, and I will see y'all next Saturday.